Hello, and welcome back to another episode of That Spiritual Girl Next Door. Today, my guest is Tom Matt. And Tom Matt is known for his ability to perceive holographic images. So think about vivid, fully formed inner movies, basically. And I say inner, but really, he sees them in your field. And it's as if they're actually here on Earth and they're earthbound. They're just part of a layer that we can't see. He likens it to an earthworm, and how it goes through the world is completely different than how we perceive the same world. So if you're an earthworm and you don't have eyes, but you have feelings, you feel and perceive things in a completely different way than we do with eyes and all our other senses. So it's almost like he's got a different sense that he can see into almost another dimension. He's not sure exactly what it is, but he explains it the best he can, and he's always learning, and he's always finding other people who have this ability the more he talks about it. So I think that's one of the coolest things. So these aren't metaphorical images in his mind. They're literal visions that he interprets or lets the client interpret. His work is part clairvoyant image reading, part symbolic dream language, part like energetic tuning. When he reads someone, he's essentially describing a real-time stream of imagery that his mind picks up when tuned into that person's field. So you can think of it like an intuitive Google Earth for the soul, but instead of landscapes, he's navigating metaphors, archetypes, and emotional energetic themes. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background on what we're about to explain. We jump into Tom's story and how he got here first. So on to the show. Welcome, Tom Matt.
Yeah, let's just jump right in, and you can start with your questions, however you want to start it.
Yeah,
I know you
well,
want to
Tom
talk about.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us. We met at the Sci Games conference at lunch with his lovely wife, Christy, and we had the best conversation. And then towards the end, I'm like, hey, by the way, I have a podcast. Would you be willing to chat with me?
Yeah.
But when we were at lunch, we talked about how you went to University of Georgia and you were at DeGrady College of Journalism and you were an ad exec. And I'm like, no way. I worked in marketing for a long time. And that's the same background. So I love setting the stage there because the average guy with his wife and his family, and he running a business. And then what happened to you? Can you start from there?
Yeah. Before I do that, let me just say
Yeah.
one thing about the reason I'm here, though. Let's start with
Sure.
this. I want to put this on the table for somebody who's listening. I have the ability I call Upsight Vision.
Yeah.
This ability is to see and interact with holographic images that seem to be everywhere around us, right? Once I see them, if I see them and I decide to interact with them, I can change them with a thought, and I can see and I can influence them.
Okay.
I've since learned I can do this with other people as well. So that's why I'm here, Kelly. You know, everybody's looking at this is very unique ability. Now, what you're talking to is, it's funny. I learned you have to kind of get this out of the way, but I like stating that first. And also, before we get this out of the way, say there's science behind this, right? There's a peer review paper coming out where my brain was hooked up to an EEG machine. They studied my brain waves in different brain states. One is using Upsight Vision, and two is using a vivid mind's eye or memory recall, because people are like, oh, he's got a vivid mind's eye. Mm-hmm. Actually, yes, that's true. Because that was my business, to your point. That's what my business was before I had acquired this ability. Now for the drum roll, the drama. The reason I got this ability, or one of the catalysts is for what something was rewired in my brain, is because about 13 years ago, I had a severe mental health crisis, a complete disconnection with any objective reality. I thought my kids were aliens. I thought my front was a business for another, an empire, a porn empire. And I actually walked out on my thriving business thinking it was something else. Mm-hmm. And I emptied my bank account. I spent all my money. Since then, and I wrote a book about it. Okay. Right. We can do a plug here called Jesus.
Thank you for not burying the lead, because you let us take a step back. I was thinking how apropos that was for the journalism mention. You know, hey, this is where we're here, and then how we got here, which I appreciate. But my biggest question that when you start to tell this story, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the cocaine start, which I know you're about to get to, or did the mental health crisis first?
Oh no, it was drug fueled for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. It's a great question,
Okay.
because my wife and I have this discussion a lot. She's like, well, you became psychotic because of the drugs. I'm like, well, I did drugs for such a long time and I wasn't psychotic for the longest time. So, right. So
Yeah.
obviously, but having this much distance and being clean and sober for 13 years, definitely the drugs fueled the psychosis.
Okay.
Now, my brain was particularly wired or rewired to make all these inferences and neuroplasticity and come back, and it was upgraded, whatever happened, in ways that were extraordinary. However, it's very important to say I definitely was psychotic. There was a year where I would have a thought, I would think the thought was true, and then I would act on it. There was no reasoning. So there was a really tough 6 months to a year. But I had time to heal and get better, and again, stop using, and my brain slowly rewired. And as it did, this thing, well, I had this right at the end of it. I'll tell that story too. But I was like, as soon as I had this ability, I'm like, I don't need to be clean and sober. I don't want to be clean. I mean, excuse me. I don't want to use. I need to be clean and sober, because never mind. Well, I shouldn't say never mind. Most importantly, I wanted to get my family back.
Right.
That was the number one thing. And that happened. It happened relatively quickly. Yeah,
That's
relatively
amazing.
quickly within the first year. And the kids started trusting me again. My wife started trusting me again. So we healed as a family. And right now, again, 13 years on, my kids are grown men. They're in different cities. They love me. We have real close connection. But I knew that something was so extraordinary with my brain, and I wanted it to be taken seriously by academics, neuroscientists, because it's if everybody could do this, they would be like, they would say, wow. Then they would say, something must be wrong with my brain. I need to get 2 MRI. I got 2 MRIs, but I need to get an MRI to see what it is. Because if you have this ability, you think there's something bad, or at least I did. I've seen so many movies, right? You're like, there's got to be a tumor. Anyway, all clear on those things. No damage from drug use. And my brain just rewired to have this ability to see these, whatever waves they are, everywhere. So that's the backstory. That's what happened for the catalyst. Again, I wrote a book, Jesus Goes to Hollywood, A Memoir of Madness. It's available on Amazon. It's my year. It's very condensed. It's 1 year of my life going through psychosis, trying to figure out what went wrong. And then it doesn't close with me finding answers. It closes with me looking for answers. But I wanted to get down that psychotic year. I thought that was
so. Just how let's make the switch over to realizing you have this ability. What broke in the psychosis to make you self-aware enough that you wanted to get help, that this is not okay, that I want to get sober? I mean, if you're in it, you can't see the forest for the trees, typically, right?
Good question. So when this happened, I was 49, and I was in recovery before that. So that's a really good question. So I'd had 5 years of sober, right? I've had 5 years of being sober. So I'd had a pretty clean lifestyle most of my 40s. When I picked up, and my brain was normal, right? My brain was normal. So I knew I could live a very happy and satisfying life sober, and I enjoyed it. But for whatever reason, I picked up again. I got bored, whatever. But this time when I picked up, I was psychotic, right? I mean, very, very quickly. So and that's what was different. That's like, wait, now I'm on drugs, but something has changed in my brain. And I guess it's not uncommon. So again, I went through this, extraordinary, horrible experience. Now, when I came out of it, I was clean and sober, and I wanted to get that back, what I had before, the sober, and I knew I could. So, but again, coming out of this, again, psych wards, this whole thing. So I'm sitting on the couch one day. Let me tell you exactly what happened, because this moment was transformative. I'm sitting on the couch one day, and I am high at this time. Let's be clear. And I see 4 holograms in front of me, right? I'm looking at these things. I see the back of a dinosaur, blood cells moving through a body, a slot machine, and then the Grim Reaper, right? I see all those change in front of me. And my first thought is, wow, I was like, I knew I could see these sober. I knew that instinctively. I'm like, I know I'm high now, but I could see the sober. So as soon as I sobered up, I did it again, right? I mean, the next day, whatever. And I did. And I was like, again, that started my mind, active overdrive. This is amazing. Maybe something's wrong. Get some MRIs. Let's get the clinical stuff out of the way. Now, to be clear, I was trying to heal my family, get us together before that. So we were back together-ish. but still there was stuff going on. Again, I talk about details in the book. So that's what happened. It was like this extra aha moment to this other nudge to say, stay sober, this other nudge, this other thing, this mission that I could be on, other than getting the family back together. And that's what
bored. You're not bored.
No, it's crazy. I rarely get bored. Why would I? I can watch a movie anytime I want.
Right. So like you're talking about maybe a relapse was because you didn't feel like you had a purpose or you were bored and you're stuck in the 3D, so to speak. But now this is a gift that keeps you in the now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can access it anytime before I go to bed. In the beginning, I was like, oh, this is going to be wild. But you learn, you just picture a side of a stream, just like anything else, and then it goes away. And then you go to sleep, I should say. So, so that's how it started. That's the background with the brain. And since I've talked about this on podcast, Kelly, this is really interesting. I've been talking about it for a year and a half. Every time I do, I get a handful of emails of people saying they have this. Yeah. To one degree or another, and many of them have no history of drug use. Right? Something in the brain that we don't encourage, we don't teach, we don't acknowledge that people have, and it's
so
really
that's the disclaimer. We are not encouraging drug use to
definitely not.
Gifts.
As a matter of fact, that's actually a really good point. Thank you, Kelly. I would discourage drug use. Yeah. Because it doesn't help, right? It disperses it, right? It doesn't help. It's easier without it. It's better to have control and focus without any stimulants, really. Coffee, whatever.
We did talk about, unfortunately, one of the common threads about these people that you've met is trauma. You said that you feel like that really helps bring it online for people.
Well, from my research, my personal research is that I thought the thread was going to be some kind of drug use and something opened up in the brain and it rewired the brains to do this. I was convinced of it. But since then, over 3,000 emails, people saying no, the thread is trauma. Because many of these people have never used drugs. They had childhood trauma, family, physical, mental, psychological, emotional, leaving another country. There's a million different ways to get trauma, but without any drug use, and they still have it.
Yeah. And the fact that you now have built this community, I mean, talk about a purpose.
Yeah, it does feel good. There's so much that needs to be done too. And I wrote a PDF too. This is important. I think you got it right. The 8 stages.
And I would definitely want everyone to go to your website and download it. It explains so much.
It explains exactly the stages I went through. See, I don't think everyone has to go through it like I did, right? But the stages I went through, and you can find where you fit into this, place, if you think you have it. That's very helpful. Again, so much more work needs to be done, and the paper isn't even out yet. The paper that the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which we haven't talked about, I just kind of did, is going to be out hopefully later this year. Okay,
and I'm going to link to the blog post that you wrote on their website as well as the post that they wrote explaining the paper, because
great idea. It is
such a good background on the science of it. And again, it's not that the fact that you're tying science into this experiment, I want to say unfortunately legitimizes it, because so many naysayers would not believe without it, but it helps really get to the root of an understanding of what's happening here too. So think about that. That's such a great observation. From my background, right? I'm 61 now. There's no way when this happened, I was all on the science train, that somebody will figure this out and it's going to be a traditional academic. But the lack of interest and the lack of knowing was extraordinary. Finally, in IONS, the Institute of Noetic Science, and a guy named Dean Radin, who does a lot of work with psi abilities, right? Even though I just think this is a human ability, this is an evolved ability. You could put psi over here because you can't. Well, the psi abilities typically don't happen 100% of the time, right? But I can do this 100% of the time. 100% of the time. And I think that's a really big deal. It's repeatable in a lab again and again and again. So I was convinced they were going to be interested, and finally they did. They hooked me up, and slowly, again, 13 years ago, and even though 3 years ago, people are kind of getting on that there's something going on with the human brain that we don't have a handle on. And well, let's talk about that lack of interest, because I talked to your wife about this, and she shares this feeling with my husband. And they're here to keep us grounded, as you know.
Right.
But they're like, okay, cool, this ability exists, anybody can do it, but I still have to wake up and go to work tomorrow and pay the bills, and my life still goes on. And I think, unfortunately, that's sort of some people's mentality when it comes to these things. You and I are like, what? This is mind bending, earth shattering. We need to shout it from the rooftops. That's how I get excited about this stuff. But let's talk about, what do you see its purpose as people embrace it and learn more and feel accepted through it, if they have these abilities, or if you don't have these abilities and you've learned more about it and you get to have a reading with you? What do you see as the ultimate purpose?
All right, let's break that down into two questions. And let's, again, in the beginning of this, we met at the Psy Games, which talks about, it was about, and they didn't do this, obviously. They did other things that have been around for a long time at the Psy Games. This feels like, to me, as in a mutation that happened that gave me this ability, right? There's a word I learned when I was doing research on this called umwelt. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's UMWELT, umwelt. It's the way a biological organism moves through the environment, right? And although we have this place, the planet is covered with biological organisms. You and I move through it one way. A worm moves through it another way, and a bat, and all these things move through it differently. My umwelt, the way I move through planet Earth, has changed.
Right.
The way I see the world before is not the same way I see it now. Now, the question is why. We discussed a couple of the reasons earlier. I also think something is happening on the planet because of pole shifts, climate change, forever chemicals. So many things are changing, and we're going to need this ability that I have, but other people's also do, to survive somehow. I don't mean that to scare people, but I think this is like a survival skill that we're going to need. So when you say that, what does that mean? Number one, I'm smarter. Now my wife can say, what does that mean? Before, my brain, I definitely am smarter than I was before, and I'm better at certain things like mathematics, right? I wasn't dumb, make no mistake, but I have skills and I have insights I never had before. Number two, and this is the bigger one more than the intelligence even, is the communication ability. I think we will be able to communicate this way in the very near future. And I call very near next 5 years. I think I'll find someone else and we'll realize we can communicate this way. And it could influence the population the same way language did, however, 10,000 years ago, or however we not language.
Almost like a type of telepathy.
Yeah, speech first, then language, then writing. You know what I mean? It's like speech, then writing. This is one of those things. This is something like that. It feels like that to me. So, and again, we are in the middle of it. So it's, when these people come forward and we try these experiments, because I have a list of so many experiments I want to try, communicating in the space. And I've done a couple of them because of the readings and stuff, but most of them I haven't even done yet.
So if I'm not able to project a hologram intentionally that I know of, but if I were to put something in my mind's eye, could you read it as a hologram?
So that's the best question. So I have an FAQ section on the website where I can't mind read. So this is really important. I'm not a mind reader, right? So I don't mind. As a matter of fact, trust me, I've tried it. So it's not mind reading, and it's not seeing your deep, dark secrets.
Right.
It's like this middle ground. There's this middle area that with the brain, kind of like sleep, dreaming and stuff like that, that I think I'm accessing. So it's not like you can definitely keep a secret from me if you're like, I think, well, not definitely, of course you can, but something that that's on your mind unconsciously or subconsciously will bubble up. Whether you honor that, well, what I'm reading is not, that's up to you. It doesn't interest me, but like, I've seen people like go to the store and buy something the day before. I've seen them do all these things. So we don't know what it is, but I know it's not the front, and I know it's not the deep back. It's like this middle area, almost
you have some amazing illustrations of this, by the way. So I've made a note of where we're at, and I'm going to see if I can splice in these pictures, if that's okay.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
I don't know who you got as your illustrator, but you work together very well, because I can't even imagine trying to dictate this stuff to somebody else.
So his name is Olaf Rockner, and he's done a great job for me. And by the way, if anyone's, they look like, if you've seen the movie The Queen's Gambit, they look like the protagonist is laying on the bed moving the chess pieces around. Or if you've seen Iron Man, they look like the holograms when he's in his office and he's swiping left or right. Or Star Wars, there's a scene where R2-D2 does a hologram of Princess Leia. Now, most people know what a hologram is, but we're just making sure we're covering all grounds here.
No, I love the explanation because it's not mind reading. It's not it's not, what's the opposite of aphantasia?
Hyperphantasia. It's definitely not
Hyperphantasia.
that.
So it's not that you can just visualize very vividly, right? It's you can almost touch it, feel it, because you say you can interact with it.
Well, here's the
But
thing. I have hyperphantasia. I have my whole life.
yeah.
I mean, I can picture any poster with the deep red colors. I can see that in my mind's eye. This is external. Now, how do we know that, right? Many ways. My eyes get tired, just like you get tired watching a movie. Number one, there's something called smooth pursuit eye movements, which you follow something like that, and you can't fake that. So if I'm looking at a wall that looks invisible to everyone else, and I see a lion run across it, my eyes are going to follow that line. And, they can track my eyes. My pupils dilate when something's arousing or exciting. And there's another way. Well, those three are enough. And then the other way is they hooked up my brain.
Well, and it shows
Right?
you
That's the
that
big
it's
way.
different. Right. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the experiment, that the peer-reviewed study. You did over 200 tests, right? Basically that show, let me interact with the hologram and we're going to measure my brain, what that looks like. We're going to visualize something in my mind's eye. We're going to measure what
Yeah.
that looks like. And we can compare and that they are in fact different.
Yeah. So wait, I want to, before I do that, I just remember what the other way is that I've forgotten. So this way is really interesting too, Kelly, because I can't drive a car and do Upsight. So if I'm driving a car, I can't because I'm looking at the road. So if I'm driving, I have to look at this. I would get in an accident. Now I could drive road and think about hyperphantasia, a poster in my mind, and I could talk about it with the passenger. So that's real. That to me is one of the most motor skill. That's really interesting about this whole thing. That's another way I know it's.
And I do love how you describe it. It's as if a dog can hear sounds we can't. You can see a different layer than we can't, and that our eyes are only able to see what percentage of the spectrum?
Like 1% or something.
Yeah,
some
something. So it's
number.
almost like you're tapping into a different side of the spectrum. Okay, sorry that I'm a little ADD here with my questions, but this one just popped into my mind. When you're interacting with a hologram or an entity, are they kind of looking at you like, wait, you're talking to me? Like you can see me?
Yeah. No. So in this space, I've seen all kinds of holograms. So the question is, and we won't get into this because that's its own podcast.
Okay.
Are these things actually real, right? Are they a projection from somebody else's mind? So I could believe that, right? They could be somebody else. Somebody else is in another room thinking about it. I'm picking it up in there like a thought form. However, I don't think that's true. These things, when they see me looking at them, they behave in certain ways. Now, there's not a telepathy. There's people that call themselves star seeds. They say they're from another planet. That's not my vibe. That's not what's going on with me, right?
Okay.
That's really important. Specific. These things, I liken it to being in a jungle, right? If you're in a jungle and something sees you, it's either going to take interest in you if it's like a panther and you're in the Amazon. It's like, what's that person doing there? Or it literally may not. It see you and it's indifferent to you. These things are like that. Now, what's not happened in this space is of dialogue, of communication. Not in this space, not really.
Okay, so they're not telepathically even talking back.
They may be, but they're not. They could be, but they're not like, hey, dude, what's up? No, you know what I'm saying?
Like,
that's not the case.
You see me?
Yeah, right. Well, they do that. That's what's interesting. There's definitely a you see me.
Okay.
There's that part of it, but it's either coming forward to try to scare you or they just disappear. So that's really, it's almost like an animal, right? So I don't know. Yeah, it is wow.
Because it is feeling like it's in our Earth sphere, and as opposed to you're tapping into a different dimension or a different ether. It feels earthbound, you said.
No, so this took the longest time to figure out. And I think, well, in the PDF, I talk about the hidden biosphere and the organic metaverse. I think that's the words I use, or the abstract space. So there is a biosphere here, a hidden biosphere. It's invisible to humans, just like the sound from a dog's. It's around us that we just are oblivious to. That is one thing. So you can't sit there and say that's an extra dimension because it's the same dimension as us, but we can't see it. Okay, that's first. And I tap into that, I believe. The second one is this organic metaverse, which is extra dimensional, which is out there, which is astral projection and abstract knowledge. And that's where you go. That's where I think you go to remote view and then you land somewhere else and you use, you know what I mean? You use whatever tools you have. So even though they're close, they're definitely not the same. And that one is extra dimensional. I mean, I say I'm a visual spatial super ninja. There's no topological space or manifold that I can't deconstruct and see my field of vision. But that's dimensional. That's abstract.
So you can decide to stay here in this biosphere. Am I using the terms right? Or you can go further. You can pick and choose where you're.
Yeah. And the challenge is, so let's just say, so I'm sitting here and there's an invisible biosphere behind me. And then all of a sudden, a manifold plops in front of me. That manifold came from the organic metaverse into the hidden biosphere.
Okay, define manifold for everybody for me.
It's a space that that has dimensions that you can see. It's a mathematical term. It's a space that has dimensions that you can see. Yeah, that's it basically.
So
square.
It comes from somewhere, but now it's here. So that's why it's like hard to figure out where it begins and ends. And people often mediums say that our loved ones are right here. And it's not like you have to go somewhere to talk to them, that they're here, and you can't wrap your head around that, but maybe it's tied to your ideas somehow.
So great. That's a great tee up for your question from before about the science we did at Ions, right? Okay. So that's the brain state. That's seeing the Eiffel Tower and remembering it, right? And then seeing it in this space. So they did 200 randomized testings to see my brain states with thinking about mind's eye and seeing it in front of me. And they measured all the brain states, alpha, beta, theta, all of them across the board. Now, there were significant changes. There were changes in all of them, but there were really significant in 2 of them, maybe 3. But the 2 we'll talk about. The theta brain state. The reason you triggered that thought is because mediums, when they're in the theta state, that's when they're talking to these folks, people that have passed on. So there is certainly an element to that going on here. Right? So when I'm in this state, there's an element like a dead relative can show up. Now, I've done enough readings where that happens. Now, but here, let's be clear. I'm not a medium. That is not my specialty. I just read the organic metaverse. If something shows up and that's who it is, then okay, great.
But it's not like they're giving you a message because you're
they could. If we go down that road, we could, but again, I'm not a specialty there, and that's not my wheelhouse. Maybe eventually, but right now I don't aspire to do that, right? Yeah. People have asked while we're on a call, and I'll say, let's see what happens. As a matter of fact, a woman asked last week, and I did it, and I'm not sure that's what happened. Again, I don't know if it was successful because I'm not an expert in that. But the other brain state was the alpha brain state. Right. Now, the alpha brain state is typically relaxed. That's when you're in the resting brain state, and default mode network, I think, is the term they use. Now, what's really interesting is while I'm using Upsight Vision, the alpha brain state, it was like Rudolph's nose, the images they use. It was bright, and there was a lot of work being done in a state that's typically calm. And there's a very compelling picture on that blog post that right. And it's the left prefrontal area. Oh, and what's really interesting, Kelly, is do you remember at the Psy Games, one of the speakers, Dr. Powell, I think, she talked about how kids with autism have an underdeveloped left prefrontal lobe. I may not get the science right, and that's why they can do this. So when I heard that, and I haven't thought about it until right now, remembered this, I thought to myself, wow, so theirs maybe isn't as developed, and mine, for whatever reason, I can suppress. So that's how these things are getting in.
Yeah, that is a very interesting correlation. It
is, right?
You go down the scientific, and that's what the beauty of the Psy Games is it's everyone's silo of information gets to come together. And there's so much amazing science that really, the more you listen to everyone, it's all the same in a different way. It's like a paradox, but it's true. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that all these ideas can coalesce.
The more people studying this, the better. The more eyes on it, like anything else. It's like AI. All of a sudden, everything, 10 years ago, AI was cool. Now it's like, forget it. This is going to be the same thing, I think.
And it's in 2 points that they made that I never considered was the whole 4-minute mile analogy, that the more people see what's possible and the human potential, the more it's just so much quicker for everyone else. And Danny Sheehan talked about disclosure and that it's if extraterrestrials are these beings from other dimensions that are actually going to come out through our government that exist, have these abilities in spades, why shouldn't we be developing them ourselves? Not in a combative way, but in a a community
Survival way.
sort of way.
No, well, think
Yeah.
about that. What I was talking about earlier. Maybe we need to do it because we need it for survival because there's
That's
something else here that we have to be aware of. That
and those are
feels
books
right
I've
to me.
read since I was a kid that it's latent for a
Yeah,
reason one day.
that feels right to me.
Yeah.
And I'm
And not in a
focused on
scary way. I'm with you. That's
no,
not to
no,
be
no.
scary.
It's like anything else you want to learn about, right? It's like
Mhm.
anything else, you know. And you know what? Here, I wrote about this on a blog too about how. So before, what is it? Leeuwenhoek discovered the microscope 400 years ago or whatever. He looked through this microscope and he sees these little organisms, right? He's the father of microbiology. Before that, they thought magic was, making people sick, or they thought it was whatever they thought it was.
Mhm.
They knew it's that. They knew because of the invention of the microscope that it was microbiology. He's the father of microbiology. I mean, it's huge. Genetics, this whole thing, we couldn't see this. We couldn't see this space
Mhm.
400 years ago. I feel like I'm seeing something organically or however happened that we will build. There will be technology. There will be ways to see this, right? And we're going to realize there's so much more here. Again, it's another science that will come from this.
Yeah. And like anything else, it could have a dark side. And you've said you've sometimes see some scary stuff, but you're able to. You said you could kind of clear it if you need to, if it's sort of just not
Well, you
something.
ignore it. You don't have to. That's the thing. Look, Kelly. So if it's like somebody's talking to you, yelling at you, you just walk away. It's like anything else, right? You have control. You literally don't have to look at it. It's that simple, right? Now, I guess there could be things or beings or something that could just bully you and beat you up psychically, but and maybe that I think that's what happened back in 2013. There was some kind of vulnerability, but I feel like I went to a psychic boot camp and it doesn't happen anymore.
That's good. Where you,
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
they always say just shine your light and your love on, and then they're like, ugh, nah, I'm moving
Yeah,
on.
right. No, yeah, it's true. Well, there's an element of that too, and they get bored. I don't know if they're interested. Again, I don't know. I've got some experiences with that. Not necessarily in holographic form either. I wrote about that in the book and stuff like that, but in any case.
Which I can't wait to read. And talking about your home life and your wife and keeping you grounded, you guys told me the funniest story at lunch. I just wanted to repeat it, how you're learning what this all is, you're experimenting with it, that's
Wait,
your life.
yeah, are you talking about the one about the little girl? That one?
Yes, and the cats.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, the one with the little girl was a long time ago. No, this
Yeah.
is what happens. So I wake up. No, so in the middle of the night, this girl comes into the room and she's 7 years old and she's got a teddy bear. And I know she's dead, right? And I'm like, okay, so I know this girl's dead. And she asked me like, can I help her? And I'm like, well, this is unusual. As I told you, most people don't communicate, right? And I'm like, no, I can't help you. And you think about going to the light and stuff. I don't know if I had the foresight to say anything, but I thought obviously this is weird, but
And you
she's
just woke up. You're just like,
no, it's the middle of the night, right? I woke up, so she just turns around and holographically leaves, right? And I'm like, okay, and I think about this and I fall back to sleep. So the next morning I wake up and I go, it's the strangest thing, Christy. This dead girl showed up in the middle of the night in a hologram and she started communicating with me. And I tell her this whole story and she's like, okay, here's the rule. I never, ever want to hear if any dead person shows up in the room again. I don't care. I don't need to know. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Fair point. Fair point. And I think the reason we brought this up is because this is like a couple of months ago. I wake up in the night and all these holographic cats are jumping around the room. They're literally it was like they're on the bed. Now, think about how interesting that is. When you think about holograms, well, you can go, well, maybe it's not interesting. It's interesting. I think about this so much. But they were on the bed as if the matter was there, right? They didn't fall through the bed. It was a matter that was there.
They're like curled up or moving around.
They were on the bed. And
oh, wow. That is interesting.
Right.
Interacting with the 3D. Yes.
Exactly. So the 3D was there for them. They jumped around and stuff like that on the bed with us, and they were just there. And I don't know why. But those things happen all the time. I mean, and I don't tell her because it's just so common.
She needs her sleep and she's got to get up and go to work. And I mean, but that is fascinating. That again, it goes back to that hypothesis that whatever it is that we're it's here. It's not as if we have to go somewhere else to tap into it. And wrapping your head around that is so hard, but then you describe it how you can now see it. It's a whole different ballgame.
And if you think about that specific, the one with the dead girl is like what you typically think about. Scary,
Yeah. Like Sixth Sense. Yeah.
uncanny, right. The cat one is so mundane. It's just boring, right? If they were real cats, it would be boring. But so even you've got both of those scenarios in this space. So I don't know what that means. I'm just
And that's
saying
the hard
we've got-
part, right? That's the
Right,
hard part for
exactly.
you right now is what does it mean? How do I use my superpower for good? Because, but that's a beautiful thing that I think, and maybe I'm reading you wrong in terms of where you're at with it, is you're allowing it to unfold and just figuring it out as you go.
So, all right, let's shift gears to talk about how I use it now
Okay.
with other people. Is that
Yeah.
good, Kelly? Can you do
Yeah,
that?
that'd be great.
Okay, so like at the beginning last year or what? No, I've known that some of these are coming from other people, but I don't tune it in because it's almost like eavesdropping, right?
Okay.
You're like, that's creepy. So yeah, so I never paid attention to it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right? Somebody making a noise, somebody saying something. But last year I was talking to somebody who does coaching, and she feels them. She doesn't see them like I do. She's like, you should try to, see if you can help people. I'm like, what do you mean? And she tells me the story. I'm like, wow, that's great. So I started practicing and tuning in with people, right? If you give me permission and I have a connection with you, it doesn't, and by the way, I don't have to be in the same room. It's fun in the same room, but we're going to do this afterwards. I'll do it with you. It's that quantum entanglement thing, right? Because it's there. And wait, let me just say this other thing too. I just saw an article that said, we're entangled with people 10,000 kilometers away. There's a study that just came out. We're on the same wavelength. So that makes so much sense for me. So I thought to myself, when I saw that, I literally saw this just 2 days ago. So I was like, oh, that explains it. I don't know what it explains, but anyway.
Yeah, but and how? I mean, there's so many
Exactly
questions.
how.
There's a place you get where there's a little bit of a surrender and acceptance in this, and you're going to see how it unfolds. I
So
mean,
when you say how, though, we know how with the phone, so it's not a big deal.
oh,
So
right,
think
right,
about
right.
that, right? We know that's possible with technology. All we have to do is say, put the technology down. Okay, obviously, if this study is right, it's also technology it's also possible without technology. We just don't know how to tune into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I like that. Yeah.
yeah. So this woman said I should do it. So I started doing it. And I started people are like, wow, that's really good. Thanks for that. And so I literally started as a business 6 months ago, and I started reading people. And the best part is the payoff. So here's what I say I do. I read your holographic field. I am I'm like IKEA furniture, right? I can see all the things you can't see, right? Like maybe a dream, right? That's in your unconscious, subconscious. I give you the tools, right? And you, over time, or with a therapist or friend or whatever, have to unpack it. Because a lot of things, as much as, make no mistake, we work on the call, but I'm not a therapist. I mean, that's not my experience. I'm not. I'm
That's
just like
fair to give that disclaimer that
yeah,
I'm going
no,
to give
no,
you the
no.
pieces
I
and
don't
the
claim
tools.
anything. I don't claim anything. I'm a guy that's dealt with these symbols a long time, and I can give some insights into it, but I don't tell people what to do. I'm like, well, if this was me, I would talk to somebody. But the point is, and the superpower is actual symbols that come up again and again. So if I'm reading a woman, and every reading is got a Scorpio in it. And at the end of it, she goes, oh, by the way, I'm a Scorpio. It's like, okay. You know what I mean? That happens all the time. And that's a simple one, but even so many things. But I see things in this field that typically I think you could have access to in your dream state or something like that, Or if you're talking with a therapist or a friend, this stuff bubbles up. But I just happen to see it, and it's an opportunity for people to look at that stuff, and it's
So
been
you're almost like a
extraordinary.
mirror. I like the IKEA
Exactly.
furniture, but you're a mirror of, hey, I can't change what you're seeing in the mirror. I'm showing you, and then you can figure out what to do with it. But it
So
gives
a
you
mental
a
health
place to start.
practitioner, a coach just wrote a endorsement for me, and she said that same thing. So that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, and sometimes that's what it takes. And as just an outside person to maybe tell you the things that you already know. And then it's validating, and it's another person to connect and bounce that idea off with. It's a safe place to see it and feel it.
Yeah, and this is important too. So even though these images for me are clear and in focus,
Mm.
this is really important. Actually, if we're talking about this as a service to people, it doesn't mean they're necessarily true, right? So, for me, I had to learn that. I'm like, I thought I could win a Kentucky Derby. I thought I could win a football game. I would see these games be played out before me, and it was nonsense. It was not true. It was just
Okay,
a
because
game.
everybody wants the lottery number,
Yeah,
and
of course, of course. It's not like that. What I've learned, two things. Number one, if the images come back again and again, it's important, right? And if you get a feeling around the image, it not only in this time you're doing it, but later on, like if you're driving a week later and you think about maybe what I talked to you about, and you feel really good about it, and then you turn over and you see a billboard with what we talked about, then you know the universe is saying, hey, you might want to explore this further, or you may want to buy that new house, right?
so can we talk about synchronicities a little bit?
Yeah, I
Because
love synchronicity is how this started.
so there's twofold, and I don't want to throw too much at you at once, but the synchronicities you were seeing sort of during the psychosis, but it sort of led you along the path that you needed to go, number one, and what that meant for you. But two, being in this space now, clear and sober, how you still see synchronicities with maybe a help of your own guide that's helping you through this process. I know those are two different things. Can we
Well, let's no,
touch on
that's
that?
good because the first synchronicity, the one I think you're talking about, there's a scene, there's a moment in the book where I literally walked for like a minute, a full minute. I was listening to Bruce Springsteen's song "Blinded by the Light," and every verse in the song was played out before me as if a director had blocked the scene. It was that, like, there's a sign where he says there's a boulder on his shoulder, and there's a guy with a boulder walking in front of me. And then I turn over and it says feeling kind of older, and there's a man with a cane, right? And then there's a there's a deuce road down the street. And I'm like, even talking about it, I'm getting chill bumps. I'm like,
and everyone can relate to this.
yeah,
We've
yeah, right.
all
So it was
said an
so,
obscure word, and then it says it on the commercial, and you're like,
it was
"What does that mean?"
right. So and I was and then a deuce, like a bright yellow car
Oh
drove
my
by. I
gosh!
was like, and I'm at that time I was unwell, and I
Right.
thought I was being followed by satellites, and they put it in place to mock me or whatever. And I was like so angry, right? So at that time, but it still definitely happened. Since then, I realized that was a moment for me to understand the universe, even though then it didn't feel like it had my back. It's saying, listen, there's things in place that are going to help guide you. And even though that was a bad one upon reflection, right? You talk about the mirror, this much distance, being clean and sober. Well, that absolutely sucked. There's nothing about that was good. But looking back, I'm like, there's no way that was accidental. There's
Right.
no way there's no way those things could have been put in place accidentally. Something is planned, and I think higher power, creator, the universe, whatever you want to say. But these synchronicities, they happen all the time now. And I love when they do. I think it's a gift from God. And if you pay attention to them, it can help you. You can help there's no doubt I'll make a decision. If I'm like, should I go to, go somewhere or whatever, it doesn't matter, but you feel good and something happens like, oh yeah, we're going.
Yeah.
If you
Well, and I just feel like even if it doesn't have to mean anything, maybe they just mean
agreed.
like, hey, like maybe it's our people on the other side being like, keep going. Yeah, you're doing it. I mean, I don't know, but it feels
No,
good.
that's good. That's good. I think so. God winks at you. It's just letting
Mhm.
you know. Yeah. Yeah. I think I heard that from somebody years ago. God winks. And that's what it feels like too. Okay, that's a really good point, Kelly. It doesn't have to mean anything except for you're noticing.
Right.
That's what it means. You're paying attention.
And it does give you that feeling of connection. And to me, sometimes that's what it's all about.
Amen. Unbelievable.
So do you feel like there are entities helping you through this journey now? In
Oh,
your
I have angels, entities, everything.
and
I
you
feel
weren't like
really,
that beforehand. I mean,
no,
did
no, no.
you?
It's the
Okay.
opposite. I think I was being bullied by something, but
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I'm being protected in that space and this space, right? I feel, I do. So I'm okay. The whole it's about intuition, right? It's about an intuition. I trust my intuition because I know something is watching out for me, even when something that I don't think. I mean, obviously, everything isn't always good, but even if something like ungood you don't like happens, I'm like, well, there's a reason for that. I may not know it,
Mm-hmm.
but that had to happen. So yeah, I feel that way for
That's
sure.
That's awesome that you don't feel like you're alone in the holographic universe. There's
No, not at all.
something
Not even a little bit.
that's kind of guiding your hand.
Yeah, not even a
Um,
little bit. Yeah.
You can't mess up because you feel like you've already been there, done that. There's
really
no
do.
messing
No, I
up.
really do. Like I said, the psychic boot camp is the best way to say it. Best way
Yeah.
to say it.
Okay, so I wrote as one of the questions, because just listening to all of I hope this makes sense. I want to talk about the role of, we talked about trauma, but just sobriety and self-forgiveness in sustaining this ability. Because sometimes it's got to be easy, and maybe not, maybe you cleared it all, to go in a little bit of a shame spiral sometimes about your past.
So, well, great question. In the beginning, for sure, right? The longer I have of doing the next right thing, as they say, the better it is. But in the beginning, I would beat myself up because, I mean, God, it sucked so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so bad for so long. You know, think about it. I have a business. I have money. We lost a big house. You know, we lost everything.
I'm sure you had employees that you supported.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Right. I just walked out
livelihood.
of the business. Yeah, everything, future, everything. But that was long ago. Like that was, 2014, 15. It was just a really crappy time. So
It's gotta
now,
feel like yesterday and 100 years ago.
right, exactly. And now the blessings are so much more. The fact that I can make a living doing this is the biggest blessing of all, without a doubt. The fact that I
shout
can
out
make
to kids and wife. I mean,
Yeah,
they
for
talk
sure.
about their open hearts and forgiveness, and it should make everyone believe in miracles. I mean, truly, your whole story.
Yeah, and again, it happens. I tell people if they're like their loved one is so down and out, I'm not saying they're gonna find a way back, but they can. If I can, they can.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's a good message of hope, and for sure. Okay, well, do you want to try the reading now? I feel like we've got a really good background and segue into.
Yeah, I do too. So
really, okay, so I say this, I preface with, I have an open book, I have nothing, and we'll see what comes up. But I really think I set my intention that I wanted what this reading was to be for everyone's highest good that's listening to it, not just mine, but for yours interacting, for the listeners, for everyone to
good,
see.
good. I like that.
So I'm hoping that that's what it will be. So yeah.
So here's what you need to. Most important thing, Kelly, are you inviting me in? Are you comfortable with me seeing what's there, saying exactly what I see, knowing, because sometimes it can be a little weird, embarrassing, whatever I say, it's between you and me. I don't know if it is between you and me.
We will see.
But I don't record this on my head.
You're not responsible for what comes out. I'm absolutely relinquish your responsibility.
Well, this is the first time I've done it like this. This is funny. I'm like, if you want to record it, you can, which obviously you are. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. Give me permission. You know what to expect. And it is. It's like a dream. I'll be seeing something and people turn into marshmallows. It is what it is. And it can be all weird.
Are you looking behind me in my camera?
Well, I'll tell you that. Okay. I got to go into another room. I have to go to another room.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If I see you, I'm like, oh, I see Kelly and you're talking to your husband, or I'm assuming it's your husband. And then I'll say, oh, I see Kelly, but you're angry. I know you're angry. So there's feelings around this might come through too. So I'll tell you if there's a feeling, sometimes not. And then sometimes like, well, Kelly, this is you as a child, I think. But then, well, that's where we talk in between. That's where we talk in between it, because a lot of times, and then sometimes a person doesn't even come up at all, just a situation. But then the person's like, oh, I know what that is, right? Because I don't.
Okay. Well, I like how Dana Kipple said, take notes, listen, and then put it in AI and see what they come back with.
Definitely. The symbolism is going to be really interesting. So here's what I have to do. So I'm going to turn off my camera, because you don't want to watch me do this. It's just too weird. So I'm going to turn off my camera. I'm going into the other room that I do these readings in. Actually, I'm going to have one more sip of a drink. I'm going to do a 5-minute reading. But you'll hear, I'm going to set a timer. At the end of that 5-minute reading, we're going to discuss what's there. And by the way, this room is a little bit darker. I don't have the air filter on. It's a real quiet room. And and this is where I do the readings.
Okay, great. I'm here for it.
Okay. All right. So and by the way, after this, you can set an intention, but let's just see what's there first.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see what's there first. All right, you give me permission. Take a deep breath, and go. Okay. All right, higher power creator. Let me see what's there. Looking at a gigantic light bulb. It's like the filament in the light bulb, and that light bulb is taking up the whole wall. That's why I didn't know what it was at first. Okay, so imagine a giant light bulb, the old style ones from the 70s. Now the filament, the part that lights up in the middle is casting a it's even though the whole light bulb is lit, there is a focused ray that's landing on the outside of the bulb. So this thing that goes up the middle, the thing that lights up the filaments, actually has a ray, an extra ray that is focusing on a part of the bulb, the outside of the bulb. Now it's moving clockwise. Oh, and it's as if it's cutting a hole through the glass, as if it's a focused laser. Yeah. And that is really all I'm looking at right now. This is incredible. I don't know what, again, the
That's cool.
significance. Yeah, when you think about light bulb, you think about ideas, or at least I do. Okay, so you cut the top part of this light bulb off, and the glass slid over, and it's crashing. Hold on a minute. It's falling to the ground, and I'm trying to see if it's going to crash. No, it fell to the ground. So imagine a glass dome of a light bulb fell to the ground. And I'm watching this, whatever it landed on perfectly, like perfect. And it's rocking back and forth. So that could never happen. First of all, it would break. Second of all, it would lean to one side, but it's not. All right. So I'm going to leave that behind. I'm going to look at the rest of the, look at that, what's going on with the rest of the light bulb, or if I'm supposed to. No, I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to follow the top half of this piece of glass. Okay. So now, now the glass, again, I'm going to call it a dome, it's turned into a parachute, right? A glass parachute, but it's not going down. All right, hold on. This is wild. All right, so here we go. The glass was turned over somehow, and it became a parachute. But instead of just, where somebody comes to ground with the gravity, this parachute is lifting the person up. Now, the crazy thing, and this has actually happened to somebody last week, and it's funny because I don't think you have any kids. This is Mary Poppins. This is taking Mary Poppins. Imagine a parachute made of glass lifting Mary Poppins into the sky.
So I do have kids, just so you know.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, you're good. If that helps, though.
Okay, so the Mary Poppins is going back up onto this light bulb, right? This light bulb is taking her up, almost like it was a ride at an amusement park, by the way. It's going up like that. Okay, so now she is taking out I thought it was a paintbrush. No, it is a paintbrush. Yeah, she's on the edge of this gigantic light bulb, right? That was cut in half. And she's got this paintbrush, and she's painting over this stuff. I don't know what maybe she's trying to glue it. But she's on there like a worker, like a laborer, painting this open piece of glass. So I don't know if it's so people don't get hurt, or so they're going to put something back on, but she's doing this work. And it's weird because this isn't what Mary Poppins would do, or at least not what I would think she would do. I would think there would be kids there. But there are not, and she's doing all this work. And just so you know, the glass is hanging around her neck like you would have a big hat. So this piece of glass is important. Whatever it represents is hanging on her neck. It's not pulling her back. It's just there like a hat would be. And she's doing this physical work. Okay. Let's see what else is going on.
A glass ceiling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you cut it. Yeah. There's so much because my thought is the idea. All right. So what else? Okay. So now I'm looking at one side of this. Somebody's taking a ladder. So this light bulb is a gigantic light bulb. Just keep that in mind. And somebody's taking a ladder and trying to climb up this light bulb from the side. That might be you. This is the first time I think I might see you. Okay. Right? So I'm thinking this is you, but it's not you now. It's maybe. All right, hold on. Let's go ahead and stop there because that's a lot. And by the way, we can pick up in this same place. So
so you can kind of pause it.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing. I say that, and it's 1 time out of 10, it moves on. I'm like, oops, sorry.
Well, maybe you were done. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I look at it. Yeah, I just realized that happens.
I mean, the fact that this is so psychedelic is so cool. That you, again, sober, you get to have almost a trip I get to have one with you.
Yeah, this is your uncle. Let's be clear. This is not my stuff. Right. This is not me. So
you're the guide to a trip that I'm sitting here sober.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's so cool.
So here's my question to you. Do you have does it, I mean, I'm going to ask, does any of this resonate? I mean, can you think of anything that this might resonate with?
Honestly, I'm good to keep going to see what she ends up doing because I
Okay.
think it's setting the stage is how I feel about it.
Yeah, and my 2 cents is the light bulb is idea. The glass ceiling, I didn't think of that, but obviously I think that makes a lot of sense. But it's a glass ceiling of ideas too. See, it was a light bulb, and that's my first thought.
Ooh, so it's like, yeah, like don't let
You
the box or the ideas
absolutely, not
stop you.
traditional ideas. And you or part of you cut it open as if there is no glass ceiling. And really it's a glass ceiling on ideas. That's another thing. It's the glass ceiling on ideas.
Well,
That's my
that's
2 cents.
where I've been. I mean, think
I
about the
know, I
conference
know.
we just
And
and
I
that
know
I
it's
mean, that's exactly where I'm at right now with I've got so much going on that I wanna do now since coming back from the conference that yeah.
yeah, and that makes sense to me too. That's how I see it. Again,
Eh
it's
yeah.
valuable, but yours is, it's you. I mean,
Well,
it can be.
and I keep telling everyone my mind is blown open.
Okay. All right, here
I
we go.
literally keep using that phrase, so
Well, okay, so what's really interesting. All right, in this situation, again, you have a recording of this. It was a laser that it didn't blow it open. It systematically lasered it open and moved it to the side. Not your mind, but the ideas, the light
yeah.
bulb representing. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's see what's there. So this ladder that somebody, and I said it was you, maybe it's a part of you. So you're on this big ladder, right? And the ladder has wheels on it, like you see in those old libraries that would go
Mhm.
up and big, except it's going instead of, well, no, it could go, it's going around. So I don't think they go around, but this thing is going around like it's on trolleys. But here's what's cool too. There's somebody down there, and I think this is one of your kids.
Okay.
Um, pushing you. So this kid might be interested. One of your kids might be interested. And this is a little kid. This is a toddler, and she's helping you, and you're into it. This is definitely. Oh, how many kids you have? 2? Because you're holding one of them on the top of the ladder. And there's
Yes, I
another
have
one
2.
pushing-
Yes,
Okay,
2.
very dangerous. Do not do this. So
OSHA.
yeah, exactly. You've got one now. All right, so this is wild. So think about this. Mary Poppins is there, but she's not helping on with this part. So you've got one of your things now. You are actually doing what Mary Poppins was doing. You've got a baby in your hand, right? And this is definitely a baby. On your left hand, you're on top of a ladder, and your right hand, you're painting. This is so symbolic. I have no idea what this means. You're painting the top of this glass. You're somehow putting some kind of adhesive at painting. You're doing something at the top of this glass. Let me keep looking at that and see what that is, because that has stayed for both of them. But the other kids are there, and I think that's really cool too. All right, so I'm supposed to look at what you're doing. Now there's a roller. Now you've handed the baby down to who? You slid the baby down the ladder. Remember, this is a dream. I'm just saying, this is
No,
so.
well, I mean,
Okay, so
the
you slid.
youngest child would easily slide down the ladder for
Okay,
fun. So,
so
yeah.
the other child's down there. Okay, so now the kids are down there, but you're not. You're in this. And you're doing this thing like it's almost like a tool that you would use to what do you call that? When you slice julienne onions. It's a real thin thing. You're taking a
Yeah,
piece of the
mandolin.
glass. Yeah. Yeah, and you're doing something again, I don't know, you're taking a little sliver of glass, but it's not like that. It's like a julienne carrot or something.
Oh, like a peeler. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you're
Okay.
peeling away. That is exactly it. That's the word I needed to hear and you needed to hear.
Okay.
You're peeling away at this light bulb of ideas, and you're doing the work. You're meticulously doing it. Like this is detailed work. Like if a guy was a watchmaker, he'd have this stuff on so he could see it. That's exactly what you're doing. Okay. Now, you are doing this now. There's somebody across from you. And I can't see if it's still Mary Poppins, because if it is, it's not in Mary Poppins outfit. No, there's somebody across from you that's actually typing. There's somebody else in this space that's actually doing work like a writer is writing. Now that may be another part of you. I don't know, but there's somebody actually writing all of this down right now. Okay, so you've taken the whole slice of the top of this glass, and it's wild too, because these are one color. These are clear with a one color tint. Imagine if you could take a whole slice of glass. This would be so sharp and dangerous, but it's curling in itself. Now it just curled in the shape of a heart. All right. I think that's important. I think I mean, I'm going to tell you my editorial because I think you love this. But wait, it's more than that. So now, okay, this is really cool. Okay, so you went all the way around this thing, this piece of glass. It curled in the shape of a heart if it was still a material item, but instead of being a material item now, it is as if it is a pulsing heart, not pulsing because you think of a real heart. Imagine a Valentine's heart that is radiating these electromagnetic waves. So something is happening here. There's some kind of energy coming from this activity, and it's there. Obviously the love element is a big part of it, and it's almost like an electromagnetic wave that's coming out from this. All right, so there's a big heart that's just like beaming. All right, so what are you doing? You're building this. You are actively building all of this. I could see you in your hair. You've got long hair. I mean, I can see that on you now, but you've got long hair here. So this is now. Whatever this is now. This is not future. This is not, or close to now. You've got this that you're doing this work on. Okay, now you're going to laugh because this is funny. And I have no idea what it means, but I kid. Oh, yeah, sure I do. Okay, because now we came back from the thing. There's a cow being lifted up by a UFO and literally going across the scene. But you didn't hear a part that it was not just a glass heart, it was actually like electromagnetic waves
Yeah, I didn't
coming.
get that.
Okay, so and then I said something about you love this work you're doing and you're creating something in
Okay.
this space. So this is a part of who you are. And I said you have long hair, and I see it now. I see it in this space. So this is now. This is like your life, and you love this that you're doing, and you're creating something, and it's about energy too. Think about light and waves, all of that. And you built a heart from this, but the heart was glass, but it wasn't. It was these waves coming at it. And if you think about this, all of this whole thing is about energy, the whole thing. But here's the last part that I said, you're not going to believe this because it was so ridiculous. And then I said it didn't make sense. And then I thought about where I saw you and how I met you. And I said it does because it wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
There's a cow literally being lifted by a UFO floating across. And I started laughing. So that's just so wild. A cow literally just all of a sudden started going off to the side. I'm like, what's that? And it's a cow and it's being lifted by this UFO drone, whatever. But yeah, so that should give you something to work with.
Yeah.
Wow, that's yeah, that's a lot. There's the light. There's a lot.
The children part really resonate, that you felt like they were pushing me along, and it's like they're literally pushing the ladder, but they're sort of the motivation. Because
you're all part of it too.
Yeah, well, and I just feel like this space for me is to show and to expose people to ideas and things, to show them that there's so much more than they think they are. And that works for my kids tenfold, that they're, really helping them know who they are.
Yeah.
And how are they supposed to do that if I don't know who I am? So doing this work.
And the whole thing about the side games, it's okay to talk about this. Did you, Christy and I sat down with the mom the last day with her kid there, right? Because they did the Mindsight thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Interesting though, but again, so doing more of this, and if you listen to one of my first or second episodes, I mean, I'm scared to go back and listen. I was trepidatious, like people were gonna judge me and come out and like burn me at the stake metaphorically, or just think I was crazy. Yeah. And come to find out, people breathe a sigh of relief when they start to hear what I'm doing, and they can't wait to tell me about experiences they've had, about their thoughts and ideas related to this stuff. Like they just know that there's no off limits conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, and I think the more that people talk about it, the more the better it'll be. Now, here, you know what? Let's wrap up on this last thing, Kelly, because I think it's important. And well, it is important. Were you raised religious? Were you from a religion?
No, so my mom was Baptist, and my dad pretty much was agnostic. And so when we grew up, we were allowed to do whatever we wanted. So I would go to church with my mom when I was younger, and some youth groups, because it was social and it was fun and I wanted to learn more. And then as I got a little older, I didn't really go to church. My dad would always stay home.
Okay, all right, fine. Again, me too. Kind of like that. It's the same kind of thing. So there are groups of people that will immediately say demons and devils, right? And that if they are, Satan isn't sending his best. That's the whole idea, because they're just not. right? It's not, these things are not, I don't think it's that. Now, do I think maybe there's access to that? Sure. I've had spiritual moments for sure. But this space is just something we don't know yet. It is here. It's part of Earth. It is the hidden biosphere. So if people want to put everything there because they're ignorant around it, that's fine. But I don't want to have that conversation because that's not been my experience. Right.
And I do believe the more you put your focus on something, the more it becomes true. And so if I don't ignore that it exists and I have my protections, we talked about shining our light.
Yeah,
but if I really focus on it and think that it's, then I'm just going to make it come to fruition even more. Right.
Yeah, I think that's true too. I think, of course, you vibe in what you focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Yours was your reading was really good. And there's definitely an intelligence and a light and a focus. I mean, it was obvious. It was not symbols. It was like really good. But I think there's the whole place that we have here, there's so much more for us to learn about. And when scientists realize that, it's going to be, it's funny. It's almost like you talk about ocean, space. It's like this other one. And they talk about the mind. There's like an invisible space around us, or hidden. Again, that's the word I use. But
hidden feels right, because it's like, again, keep getting this feeling, this visual in my head about these holograms looking like the jungle, where they look at you like, wait, you can
exactly.
Like, wait a minute, Eric, can you see me? Yeah. So I just think what you're doing is amazing. And again, talking about it and creating community around it.
Yeah,
it's changing other people's lives.
Yeah, if anybody wants to, I'll finish on it with an ad. If anyone wants to get their biofield ready, actually just go to my website and look at it. It may not be right for you, but if you think it might be, and if you're stuck, especially if somebody's stuck, this might show you some things that you haven't thought about, because it's unconscious that you could focus on and maybe make a decision around something, or maybe there's so many opportunities. Just go to my website.
While we're talking about ads, I do have another episode where I talk about using AI as a therapist in a sense, and how if you can really try to be introspective and see the mirror and then dialogue about it, how life-changing that can be. And that doesn't replace professional help, but we have all the answers inside of us, and sometimes we just need someone to shine that light on it. So what you're doing is a great starting point to seeing.
I feel like it is too. Thank you. Yeah, I really do. So, thank you for inviting me on. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you. And giving me your expertise. I mean, I know this is how you make a living. So thank you so much for doing that and making it. And I'm going to edit some of our chatter, but honestly, it's all going out there so people can see exactly what you do. I think that's literally my intention.
Put the reading out there too?
Yeah. Okay, I feel like there's not, and I'm going to plug some stuff in AI and give a little interpretation of what I found so they can.
Well, do you know AI? One more thing, and then we really will wrap up.
I've got time.
There's another Genie 3.
Okay.
This is the first time I've heard about an AI that I'm going to get on the front of. It's world building in real time. So in other words, as I'm speaking, I can create a holographic field. So what they look like as I'm speaking, I can send this. Obviously, I will charge for it, but I will send you a copy of what I see holographically, because it will record it in real time. So everything I just said, sure, you'll use your mind's eye to think about it on your end, but I will send you whatever this thing does. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
In real time? Yeah. I mean, it's not ready yet, but at some point, I think it's
almost like you're creating a video from your description, and it allows them to visually see.
It's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. And if the Olaf Rockner, the guy that does my illustrations, if we use his style or something like it, I mean, that's pretty accurate of what it looks like. So
you've got your advertising background all like it's again, the little lily pads and the stepping stones. You can't deny it. And what amazing place you've landed. So. Yeah. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm proud of you. I just can't. I think, again, your story is one of hope, and some people have a lot to glean from.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think your podcast is only going to grow, and you're only going to get more popular because people want to hear stuff like this. You know what I mean? People know something's changing, whether they admit it or not. But there's something's going on with the world. And we're entering some kind of new, and
we are. There's no denying. And I just want to be an on-ramp for people to keep things simple and easy to understand. So
yeah, there you go. All right, Kel. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We'll talk soon. I really appreciate your time. Okay, I'm back. So I wanted to take a moment to explain how my reading went after we talked about it. So I thought it was amazing imagery, and Tom did a great job of trying to give a little bit of interpretation while still leaving it up to me to let it resonate, which I thought that was a really good approach. So that he's seeing what he's seeing, he's letting you know, he's telling you what it may mean to him, but not overly where it influences how it resonates with you, and you're gonna feel that if it rings true or not. But what I did is I recorded the reading. I use Riverside.fm. Most people would use something like Zoom, and I think most of these technologies have a transcript feature now. So what I did is I just copied and pasted a transcript of the reading, and I put it into ChatGPT. And I said, hey, will you look up Tom Matt? It's spelled Matte, everybody, by the way, because I'm going to make sure I plug all of his things, his book, his website, his PDF that I really do recommend you download because it's fascinating. It's all on tom-matt.com, Matte. But I'm going to put it all in the show notes so you'll have all the links to reference. But either way, once I copied and pasted in ChatGPT, it helped me understand what the imagery could be symbolic of and how to read that. And that's where it got really, really interesting. And then, ChatGPT always loves to ask you for the next action step. So we'll get there, but I want to read it quickly. I don't want to go on about it too much because it's all about me, and I don't think that really helps anybody. But the point of me doing this exercise and sharing it with you is to show you, if you decide to get a reading with Tom, what this would look like. Okay, so it says, breaking down your imagery. First of all, it knows who Tom Matt is. When I was able to put the URL with it and just briefly explain what it does, it told me what he does because it could read his website and understood what the background of what we were doing. That was cool. So then it says, all right, let's break down your imagery. 1, the giant light bulb plus laser. The light bulb equals ideas, illumination, inspiration. The laser cutting open the top, precision work dismantling a perceived limitation. Like the perceived limitation would be the glass ceiling. So it wasn't explosive, but methodical. You're not smashing your way out of limits. You're skillfully and intentionally dismantling them. For you, this mirrors exactly what you said about the side games. Your mind blown open, but in a structured way. You're currently in a stage where you're not only getting downloads, you're figuring out how to open them up cleanly without breaking the integrity of the structure. That's a builder energy rather than a burn it down energy. And briefly, I'll tell you what that means for me because I think I've talked about it a little bit on this podcast. My whole awakening experience, my whole spiritual journey, I've had trepidation in the past about I love my life. I love my family. I love my husband. I love what I do. I don't want to do this work to get a new life. There's some people that are really stuck that are trying to figure out a new way and rebuild their life. That's not me. And it's always been something that I'm a little trepidatious that I think, okay, if I have these experiences and I'm opening my mind more and more, am I going to change to the place where I have a new life? And come to find out, and I've had a lot of wise people and readings tell me, no, you just get more of the good stuff. And it's not a burn it down, it's a build it bigger. And so that completely resonates. That's what's happening for me right now in my life. And I've since coming back, I've got all these things I want to build. I want to build a community. I'm going to call it Woo in the 912, and we're going to do in-person meetups and have a meditation group. We're going to do a sky watching. I've got it all in the works. So if you're local and you're interested, please email me. But I'm building these new things, and Tom doesn't know that. Mary Poppins, her archetype is playful mastery, mixing whimsy with responsibility. And truly, sometimes I can be too serious. And I think having a little extra Mary Poppins archetype in my life is always important to go back to that. Painting the glass is actively tending to the opening you've created, protection, beautification, preparation. For you, this feels like you're stepping into your role as a magical but practical guide. You're working on something whimsical yet grounded. Your Woo in the 912 launch, your podcast, your creative ideas, but you're maintaining the magic and making it structurally sound. Well, that's what I hope I'm doing. So that's a beautiful image. The ladder plus your kids. The ladder means growth, elevation, higher perspective. The wheels are mobility in your growth. You can pivot while still ascending. The kids helping and being present means that your evolution is intertwined with motherhood. You're not climbing separately from them, you're integrating them into your ascent. For you, your spiritual creative work is not separate from your family life. In fact, your kids' presence is an active part of it. The toddler pushing you forward feels like the momentum to get you from them inspiring you, sometimes literally, sometimes through the need to create a better future. Love it. Okay, peeling the glass. The precision peeling equals patient, detailed, delicate, uncovering of deeper truth. And the heart-shaped curl is the careful work turns into love. Love becomes energy. And the electromagnetic waves from the heart is that what you create through this careful dismantling radiates and affects others energetically. For you, this is you taking the time to strip away layers, self-concept work, limiting beliefs, outdated identities, until you expose the raw essence, which turns into a broadcast signal of love and expansion. Your audience, your kids, and your future community all feel this. So this is what I told Tom too, and I guess ChatGPT has the transcript, but it still interpreted it this way, that for me, this work is all about being who I truly am. And who I am are not my limiting beliefs or my outdated identities. And just getting to the heart of it is what's important to me. And that's why I'm doing this. So that all resonates. The writer across from you could be another facet of yourself, documenting and translating your visions into words, podcast scripts, writing a book, or your spiritual framework. This could also mean a collaborator who's going to help bring your ideas into written/structured form. I have a children's book that's been rolling around in my head for quite a while, and that to me means maybe that's coming or it's still inside of me. So there's that. Now, the cow and the UFO, which is sort of out of left field, because when you think about the scene, you're doing this work, there's the heart, and then the cow and the UFO go, and you're like, what the heck? But it's just supposed to be playful, surreal interruption. Often in symbolic language, a UFO equals higher intelligence. The cow equals nourishment/grounded resources. So being beamed up can mean your everyday sustenance or practical world is about to be upgraded/altered by a higher perspective. For you, this is comic relief, but also feels like a wink from the universe. Yes, we're lifting your grounded life into higher realms, and you'll have to laugh through the weirdness of it. Yes. Sounds great. I agree. So the overall themes for you: breaking the glass ceiling on your ideas. You're methodically dismantling limits, but not by brute force, but precision. Integrating motherhood into your ascension. Your kids are co-characters in your growth story, not separate from it. Work that radiates love equals the detail-oriented peeling back you're doing turns into a powerful love signal that impacts others. So literally my prayer is that I have a ripple effect, and it's just of love. And that can sound cheesy, but that's what I'm here to do. Dual nature equals or practical plus magical. You're Mary Poppins and the watchmaker, whimsical yet meticulous. Upcoming playful upgrades. Expect bizarre, delightful downloads that bridge the grounded with the cosmic. So the grounded's the cow and the cosmic's the UFO. And that sounds great, because that's what I want more of in my life. The magic is what makes life sweet. If you want, you can map out each of these images into a literal action plan, so the reading isn't just symbolic, but gives you concrete moves in your work. I mean, the fact that we have AI and ChatGPT to continue that on, so it makes the reading actionable. His insights are so valuable, but then having a resource that just puts the action plan in motion is the coolest thing. So it's a very unique reading. I've never had one done like this, and it feels really good to feel like I'm on the path that I want to be, and that I feel seen literally by Tom. So I really highly encourage you to get a reading if this sounds like something that would be fun or give you some insight into your life. But thanks for listening to the episode. Thanks for listening to the interpretation. Apologize for making it all about me, but I'm just hoping this is a good example of Tom's work and you got something out of it. So join us next time for another episode.